I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but you have to go to those people who have money, and they always want something. You run the risk of deciding whether or not you're going to prostitute yourself to give the answer you know they want to hear in order to get funded to run for that office. I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it, but what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
All right, guys, so you got to talk about this pretty crazy clip from 1974 that was unearthed of Joe Biden essentially admitting what we all know about not just him, but not all politicians, which is that they are sellouts. And in Joe Biden's words, he actually goes further, right? He essentially called himself a prostitute, which is a term that I like to use to describe politicians because that's what they are. They're prostitutes for their big money donors. So anytime you want to ask the question of why do politicians do what they do? Why do they take the positions that they take? Okay, why do they want to be so pro-war? Okay, and things like that. It's simply because of money. They're being paid to do this. And this is something that back in 1974, Joe Biden admits out loud. Okay, he talks about the process of prostituting himself to big money donors, right? And you should not assume that he's not corrupt, right? He just admits the quiet part out loud. And it is a wonderful and glorious clip because it can be applied today in so many different situations. I think it really does shine some light, a bright light on the corruption that goes on in politics. And speaking of bright lights, that is why the sponsor of today's video is Lightbug by Pepper's Peak. A nationwide blackout could strike sooner than anyone realizes, given the nature of the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, natural disasters, a growing risk of war, cyber attacks, terror attacks, and more. Learning how to survive off the power grid has become as vital as it's ever been before. This is why myself and tens of thousands of others choose Lightbug. The Lightbug is an ultra bright, portable floodlight designed for life-threatening emergencies. Its compact size allows you to take it anywhere. Its solar panel charging ensures that it works in almost any environment. And its power bank allows you to keep all your devices charged even in the worst conditions. The Lightbug is highly effective for emergencies, car repairs, fishing trips, camping, night markets, and more. Countless 5-star reviews back up the notion that Lightbug is absolutely critical for surviving an extended power outage or blackout. Simply place your order now to get 25% off along with many other free bonuses like access to Prepper Speak exclusive newsletter, free express shipping, and last but not least, a 100% lifetime replacement guarantee. Act now before they sell out by going to lightbug.com and using the promo code Black Friday. That's lightbug.com and use promo code Black Friday for 25% off.
You would agree that your service in the Senate up to this point has not reflected any particular concern for the larger contributors?
Well, the fortunate thing is I didn't have many larger contributors, and the only reason, see, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it, but what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son, and so I had to go out. So I had to go to a number of small contributors.
Well, I think we're all grateful, Senator. You didn't take no for an answer. But Senator, aren't you a living example?
I am an anachronism.
Wait.
I'm a 29-year-old oddball. The only reason I was able to raise the money is I was able to have a national constituency to run for office. Because I was 29, I'm like the token black or the token woman. I was the token young person.
We're talking about this national constituency. Some of the money that
That's not an announcement for office, by the way.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. That is Joe Biden basically saying that during his first run for U.S. Senate, he failed to get money because he was too young, but he tried to prostitute himself. Again, his words, not mine. He tries to prostitute himself out to big donors. Okay. And again, this is an example of the overt corruption in politics, guys. I mean, this is what he's doing. He's saying, look, hey, I was trying to sell myself. Now, what do you think he's selling? He's selling influence, right? He's selling the fact that, hey, if you give me money, I'm going to do favors for you when I get elected. I'm going to work on behalf of you and not the American people. Okay, this is what he's saying. But again, this is why I laugh when people say that, oh, well, you know, America's a democracy, right? And I'm like, is it really a democracy? Is it really a democracy when your elected officials literally are bought and paid for? Okay, you can literally buy a senator. You can buy a senator and make him do a tap dance, okay? Do something strange for a piece of change. And it's very obvious. We talk about this with George Soros, how he's bought and sold these DAs across the country. And now these DAs are enacting these policies, these soft on crime policies that destroy these liberal cities, that allow criminals to run free and wreak havoc and to be agents of chaos. Now, again, how did this happen? Well, it's because you had one figure, like a George Soros or a few figures or whatever with some money that, again, bought some politicians, right? Bought some elected officials and made them do something strange for a piece of change, right? Like, again, be soft on crime. I'm just saying that's how it works. That's how it works. So again, when you're talking about the destruction of this country, right? When you're talking about, like, for example, the border, okay, why don't any of the politicians do anything about the border? Well, because illegal immigration is cheap labor, right? These companies don't want to pay people minimum wage, right? If they could pay less than minimum wage, they would, right? So having these illegals come into the country and to work under the table, it's profitable for the big donors, right? And the big donors basically pay the politicians to, you know, hand wring and virtue signal about the border, but they never go out of their way to actually close it. There's a reason why Republicans pushed back against Trump when he got in office and he actually really tried to secure the border. It was like, nah, bro, we don't want to build no wall. Why? Because their donors are like, hell no, right? Hell no. We want as many illegals as possible. Okay, that's how it works. And what Joe Biden just said there demonstrates exactly what it is. You're prostituting yourself if you become a politician, right? You are selling yourself to the highest bidder, okay? But again, what you're seeing there is Joe Biden's willingness to sell himself so easily, right? Which is why I'm almost certain that he sold himself overseas to foreign entities through his corrupt crime family that now has been subpoenaed, okay? Republicans have subpoenaed James and Jim Biden, and now you have the mainstream liberal media, instead of asking questions about the overt corruption, right? And the evidence that we have that these two individuals were involved in money laundering and, you know, influence peddling with Joe Biden. No. They want to defend Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and play the whataboutism game.
The House Oversight Committee has issued subpoenas for Hunter Biden, James Biden, and Biden family business associate Rob Walker. Do you have a comment on that?
So look, as you just mentioned, it's just breaking, so I don't have this information in front of me. I'm just hearing from you. Certainly, I would refer you to any of the personal representatives on this, on your question. But I will have to say something that I've said many times. This is an investigation that has been going on for a year now and has turned up zero evidence of wrongdoing by the president because there is none. But Republicans continue to double down on a baseless smear campaign against the president and his family.
Will you vote to hold them in contempt?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why would they not be? What do they have to hide? I don't think so. You know, here's the deal, John. It's very, very clear. Why the hell would Hunter and Jim create 20 shell companies to be legal? We've seen time and time again, and Representative Comer has proven this. There was money influencing peddling that Biden had during his last couple of years as vice president, and then right afterwards, they wanted to gain the money back.
Yeah.
Could
I just ask you? You say yes, absolutely. Why have you changed your position on holding people in contempt of Congress? You voted against holding Steve Bannon in contempt.
Well, I think it's a little bit different when you have the President of the United States. We have somebody who's not an elected official. You have the President of the United States was selling his influence. His son was selling his influence.
No, but I don't understand. We're talking about
the people you're talking. There's a little bit higher different standards, John, when you have somebody who's in elected office versus somebody who's not in elected office.
Steve Bannon wasn't in elected office.
He was the vice president of the United States.
Who are you saying was in an elected office here when you're talking about holding people in contempt of Congress for being non-responsive?
Well, tell me what office Steve Bannon was in.
Well, tell me what office Hunter Biden was in.
No, I'm not talking about Hunter Biden. I'm talking about Joe Biden, the President of the United States.
You haven't subpoenaed him. You haven't subpoenaed him. I'm asking if Hunter Biden or Jim Biden, the brother and son of the president, who are not elected officials, if they are not responsive, will you hold them in contempt?
Think about this, John. If you've seen the facts that have occurred, we see that there's been influence peddling. I mean, the President of the United States, Vice President at the time, said point blank, if you don't fire a prosecutor, I'm going to withhold money. So that's a crooked deal in as itself.
But you're talking about what happened in Ukraine.
If we don't get these individuals,
Congressman, I'm just trying to understand the difference. I'm just trying to understand the difference when you're talking about congressional subpoenas. You voted against holding Steve Bannon in contempt of Congress when he didn't appear before the January 6th committee, which was a committee, elected for by Congress. Was Steve Bannon
related to the President of the United States?
No, he was a former employee of President Donald Trump, and the other people who you did not vote to hold in contempt literally worked for the former President Donald Trump.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Again, this is the mainstream liberal media, again, running cover for a guy who is obviously overtly corrupt. Okay, I mean, he admitted himself, I'm a prostitute. What makes you think that this prostitute would not sell itself with foreign business deals overseas, right? I'm just saying, he has a history of making these types of comments, okay, and showing that, hey, this is who I am, right? I'm a sellout, I'm for sale, okay? But again, the mainstream liberal media, instead of asking questions, no, they want to play what about us? What about Steve Bannon? Well, what does Steve Bannon got to do with this? Steve Bannon has nothing to do with this. Okay, these people are just playing defense for the Biden administration. But with that being said, the reality is that unfortunately our politics are corrupt. And one of the reasons why they're corrupt is because of the influence of money in politics. Again, whether it's Joe Biden or Nikki Haley or Eric Adams or a Carlos Menendez, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, these politicians are all corrupt. They've all bought and sold themselves to the highest bidder. Okay, and honestly, there should be top-down reform of this political system, because until you get the influence of money out in politics, you're not going to change anything, right? It doesn't matter who you vote for. They can just be bought, right? They can easily be bought, okay? I'm just saying, unless you're a billionaire like Trump, then it's much harder to buy a billionaire, right? But outside of a billionaire, okay, or a guy that is extremely wealthy, all these politicians are bought and sold, and that is why the political system is so rotten and so corrupt. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.